And sometimes, you know, we find ourselves in where Abraham was. We do things outside the realm of what God has ordained for us to do. And so now we have to get back right with God. Some of us, we need to get back right with God. When we step outside the boundaries, we don't want to stay outside those boundaries. We want to get back right with God.
Get right.
And the scripture tells us that Abraham rose up early in the morning and he saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son and clave the wood for the burnt offering and rose up and went out to the place which God had told him to go. So God told him where he was going to go. He was trying to get back right with God. And so I wondered if he told Sarah what he was going to do. I wonder if he told his wife that, guess what? We're going to offer up your son for a sacrifice. You know, this was between Abraham and God. This was not between husband and wife. Abraham had did something that God told him not to do. And so in that time, we can't look to say, well, wife saved me, husband saved me. It's between you and God.
Yes, sir.
And so I imagine if he had said to his wife, well, you know what? You know, I need to get back right with God. I can imagine if he had told her, he would have had another fight on his hands. So he rose up early, and he took the boy and the 2 young men with him.
Yes, sir.
And on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. It took him 3 days to get to where God told him to go. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here where the ass and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. See, he didn't even tell the young men what he was going to do. He told them that he was going to go and worship with him. Because then he would have probably had to fight them, telling them he was going to offer up Isaac.
Yes, sir.
And so, saints, we find ourselves in a situation where we step outside the boundaries of God. We need to get back right with God.
Amen.
And it's not about announcing to everyone what we want to do.
No, sir.
It's between you and God. You know what you did wrong.
Yes.
You know where you're at. You know what you did or said wrong.
Yes.
You need to correct it.
Yes,
It's
sir.
between you and God.
Yes, sir.
And so Abraham, he didn't know he knew what he had to do. But he knew alone that it is God that provides.
Yes, sir.
And so he told them, well, we're going to go worship. Just stay down here.
Yes, sir.
And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife. And they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I, my son.
Yes, sir.
And he said, well, behold the fire
Yes,
and the
sir.
wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?
Yes.
See now,
Yes,
see,
sir.
Isaac was no fool. Well, he's saying, well, I know he knew how to do basic math now.
That's right.
He knew 1 + 1 was 2. He said, well, we've got everything else. Daughters, you know, it's like making the oxtails dinner. You know, you've got the rice and peas. You've got to get the seasoning, the beans, whatever you like to put in there.
That's right.
It's like you're getting all the ingredients, but you've got no oxtail.
Yes, sir.
That's the main meat.
That's right.
What are you going to cook?
Yeah.
And he says, well, we're trying to cook this oxtail dinner, but we've got no meat. I've got the seasoning, but that's the main part.
Yeah.
And so he's saying, well, where is the sacrifice?
Where is it?
We can't offer up. You've got the wood and the fire. And then he turned and he said, well, and Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. You see, Abraham came to understand now that God is the one that was going to provide.
Yeah.
But yet he knew he had to get right with God. And the story, we know the story goes on to say that when he went to draw the knife to kill his son, the angel called unto him and said, spare the lad, do no harm to the lad.
Don't do it, bro.
And there was a ram caught in the thicket.
Yes, sir. You provide.
And he provided. But yet he didn't see him at the time.
No.
Yes, sir.
My faith. Yeah.
But he knew that God would provide.
Yes, sir.
And so it is with us, saints. We have to make sure, in order for God to provide for us,
Yes, sir.
He is a just God.
Yes, sir.
We've got to make sure that we're in the parameters and the boundaries of where God has intended for us to live.
Yes,
Amen.
sir.
Sometimes we find ourselves outside of that boundaries and we look and hope that God is going to provide. But He is a just God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so we see Abraham, how faithful he was, and how he overcame his test.
Yes, sir.
And so it is with us. We need to be able to
Yes, sir.
get back right with God, because we know that it is He that provides. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. Now, saints, if I came to you and I said I have a bag of money, I need you to open your pocket as much as you can so I can fit as much as I can in there. You're going to open it as much. Some of us will probably tear the pocket open to try and get it all in there. God is looking to bless us.
Come on.
But we have to be ready for the blessing.
Amen.
Open up.
But my people would not hearken to my voice,
That's right.
and Israel would none of me. I just couldn't understand that. God is saying, open thy mouth wide and I will fill it. But we wouldn't listen. We want to do things our way. Going back to what I said, we said, it's a simple math. God's will plus our obedience
Yes, sir.
and patience equals success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For it is God that provides. So now when we know we don't do the right thing and we disobey, but my people would